Hey everybody, welcome back. Monday Morning Briefing, episode number 92. It is Tuesday, March the 21st, 2023. It's been a while since we've done a Monday Morning Briefing, but we have been doing videos, so we just kind of been tied up working on stuff. If you follow us on Instagram, you've seen that we've been working on a pretty heavily tooled saddle with a wildlife theme, particularly a Texas wildlife theme. We'll talk about that saddle here in a minute, but we've been tied up with that, working on that deal. We did have a new project video that went out last week, early maybe, or maybe the end of the week before, but it was on the Roper wallet. I got the patterns right here, the Roper wallet video. The Roper wallet's been one that's been requested quite a bit. And we just hadn't done it because I don't get a lot of requests for Roper wallets, probably because I just don't build a lot of them. But we have built quite a few in the past, but they're not the most popular one for our clientele that we get requested, so it just never came up. But I have had a lot of people that have emailed over the last, I guess, 6-8 months, maybe a year, asking us off and on here if we could do a Roper wallet or if we had a Roper wallet pattern. Well, we do now. So we did a project video. That pattern pack is a digital download only pattern pack that you can certainly pick up on our website at dgsaddlery.com, along with a lot of other patterns that we create. But that video posted, it's been doing really well. It seems real popular, so maybe Roper wallets are making a little bit of a comeback. I don't know, but they're fun to make. They're a little bit more involved, and in this project video, we do show you how to do the T-pockets in this. If you haven't done the new clutch wallet, you probably haven't seen me do a lot of T-pockets. We do some in the bifold wallet video, but there's only 2 on each side, so it's technically only 1 T-pocket, but it works out, you get the concept. But on this one, we're doing, I think there's 5 pockets in there, so it's a little bit more involved to do the T-pockets in there. But that's been a good video. We also did some tip videos and some different things, so there's been a lot going on. We have been working on the Weekender bag. That is going strong. We've got to finish digitizing the pattern and shooting that whole video. That's a pretty involved project, but I think it's going to be a good one. I really like that bag. I've built 3 of those Weekender bags, 2 of them at Christmas time for a really good customer of mine that actually seeded or started the idea of doing a Weekender bag because he wanted one. And so we did 2 of those, one for him and one for his son at Christmas time. And so that helped me to really finalize the patterns and get everything to work out. And so hopefully that video will be coming soon, but we're not gonna just wait for that to get done. We're also working on some other project videos and new pattern packs and things like that. As far as our material pack inventory, we've been pretty well working through what we have. I've got another shipment that should maybe ship out this week, but we're trying to time all of our leather shipments and things because we are going to Sheridan, Wyoming in May. If you're in our newsletter, you got that last week. We did send out a newsletter last week letting everybody know that we would be attending the Rocky Mountain Leather Trade Show in Sheridan, Wyoming in May. I think it's the 19th through the 21st. You can go to Leathercrafters and Saddlers Journal.com, their website, and you can get all the details and dates and times and things like that. We're going to be going up there. I've been to that show many years ago, and it's a really, really good show. It's right there in Sheridan, Wyoming, of course. You get the opportunity to go to the Don King Museum and see that, which is well worth the trip. And then the show is really good. This year we will be teaching 2 classes. They posted those, I guess, a few weeks ago, and one of mine is sold out. We were doing 2 classes. One of them is just an all-day tooling class with a focus on depth and realism and kind of getting worked on that. That's the one that sold out. Basically, my idea for that class is just we're going to tool a lot of different types of patterns and just work on mainly our use of our tools, kind of accomplishing that depth and that burnish color that you're looking for in your tooling, and then trying to get more of a lifelike type feel to the vine work and the flowers and things like that. So I'm going to bring a whole bunch of different types of patterns, different things. We work on whatever kind of stress parts are in somebody's tooling skill set. So if they've got an area they really want to focus on, we can do that. It's just going to be a full day of just really tooling and kind of working on those skills. The other class that we're doing that still has some openings in it, the last time I checked, is I think it's called Kicking It Up a Notch, and it is a collaboration class with me and Aaron Heiser from Maker's Leather Supply. And if you follow Aaron and you kind of been to a few shows, you may have taken or at least seen his sneaker class that he does. And my wife did that last year, and she really enjoyed it. And it's kind of a really neat build. But what we're going to do is it's a 2-day class. The first day will be with me, and we will tool all the upper portion of the sneaker. So all the leather top part, we're going to tool that. So we're going to design some floral patterns for that, and we'll get all those tooled and dyed if you want to go ahead and dye them, and antiqued and finished and ready for assembly. Then on the second day, you'll be with Aaron all day, and you actually put that shoe together. And so I think it's going to be a really good course. A really good class, a good workshop. It's a lot of fun. Those shoes are really kind of eye-catchy and different, and so a lot of people really like that class. So that one is still open the last time I looked, so you might check into that. But there is a whole collection of other workshops that'll be going on all that week. I think they start on Tuesday, and there's some amazing people that'll be teaching there. Go on Leathercrafters website, check that out. I'll put a link down in the description to their website, and you can go there and check out the work schedule list and kind of see what's available. And if you're going to Sheridan, Wyoming in May, it'd be a great opportunity to sit down in a class with some of the guys that'll be there, some of the folks that'll be there teaching some classes, some really, really great artists. So yeah, we're getting real excited about that. Like I said, it's going to be a heck of a drive. It's from down here, I think it's right at 1,500 miles, so it's going to be a little bit of a road trip, but it ought to be a lot of fun and it'll be interesting. But so with that, I'm trying to keep the website full. I know we're sold out on some belt material packs and some of the rifle slings. I'm going to cut some more today and this week, so hopefully we can get some more of those on the website. We also have our wool pads that I'll be adding back to the website as well. We've got some more wool skins we need to go through and get those cut up into pads for your antiquing and finish work. But we're also trying to look ahead and see how much stuff we're going to take to Sheridan, because we're planning on having a booth. I'm not sure right now how big of a booth we'll have, just because it's our first time at that show as DG Leathercraft, and so we want to kind of just see how it goes. But we will be bringing along for sure our pattern packs and things like that, and some of our merchandise. I don't know how many material packs we'll bring. It's kind of a long stretch from now until then, so I don't want to put this last shipment off until then to cut stuff for just that show. But then I don't know if it's enough time to get another shipment in before we go to Sheridan. So we'll just kind of play that by ear. But if you're going to be in Sheridan, come by the booth and you can see what all we've got available. Other than that, in the shop, I've been working on some repairs, trying to get some of the repairs out of here. We actually posted just today an article that Dana and Tracy wrote with Big Sky Mohair Cinches, and we've had them on the podcast. Very, very neat interview with them about tying their product, which is a high quality mohair cinches hand tied there in Bozeman in their shop. And I was cleaning one of my saddles that came back for its first cleaning 3 or 4 years after I built it. We try to get those in the first year just to make sure they get at least one good oiling and cleaning. But anyway, we just got it in, and I was washing the saddle, and it just happened to have the front cinch on it. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But I went to trying to clean it, and the cinch is hard as a rock. It's full of dirt. It's full of hair. It was really nasty. And so I cleaned it to my understanding of how to clean front cinches and everything, and got it best I could. And it made me think, why don't I have somebody who is an expert in cinches write us an article for our website for those that are questioning. I mean, a lot of people, how do you clean these? Do you put them in the washing machine? That's not the answer. Do you use a pressure washer? That's probably not good. But so I went ahead and reached out to Dana and I said, hey, can you put together an article? Would you be interested in writing an article? And she absolutely said she would. And so she did. And we posted that this morning on the website. So if you just go to dgsaddlery.com and go to our blog there, it'll be the first one. It's one we posted today. And it's really good. It's informative. She sent some pictures. It's pretty simple and straightforward, but she talks about some things in there that I wasn't aware of with mohair cord and fiber and things like that. So go check that article out and go ahead and visit their website, and you can kind of see some of the cinches that they make and things like that. They do some beautiful work, both mohair breast collars and cinches. So if you're in the market for some of those or looking for somebody to make you one for maybe a custom saddle that you're building now that you'd like to offer offer your client with a nice custom mohair cinch, be sure and check out Big Sky Mohair Cinches. But we've just been working through some of the repair. We did get the front of the shop cleaned up, and we got our Christmas decorations down finally. It's been a mad year already. It's just been fast. We're already almost done with March now. We're over the midway point here in March, and it's just moving far too quickly. But we got all that done. We got our inventory done. We got our year-end tax stuff done. Everything's kind of moving along. And then, like I said, I've been hunkered down on this saddle that we're building for Sheridan. If you want to see a lot of the details of that saddle, you can go to my Instagram page, and you can see I post usually daily different pictures of some of the stuff that we're doing on that saddle. But the saddle that I'm building for the World Leather debut there at Sheridan is going to be a Texas-themed ranch saddle. So it's a Texas ranch saddle. Based on what I've built in the past, things that I know that Texas cowboys like, and the look of one. And so that's what we're building. It's a swell fork, 14-inch wide, 7 1/4 tall. It's a little lower than I normally would do them, but it's going to be a really neat looking saddle. And one of the things that I'm doing is I'm trying to work in as many Texas wildlife creatures into the tooling and kind of hide them into the floral as I can. So it'll be typical Texas wildlife, or wildlife that people think of Texas when they hear them or see those animals, which is like your white-tailed deer, diamondback rattlesnake, those kind of things. But I'm also working in some of the ones that people may or may not know that are really prevalent in Texas, like the Mexican free-tail bats, the spotted ocelot, which is actually endangered, but there are some in Texas, and they're kind of known to be down in the brush country along the river, things like that. The ringtail cat, your typical animals as well, like an armadillo, a horned toad, those kind of things. So we're working through a bunch of those critters, and if you want to see some of those, you can, like I said, go on my Instagram page. That'd be the easiest way to kind of check those out. And as we work through some of the tooling on this saddle, this saddle is going to be pretty much just a showpiece. Like, we're going up there and going to enter it in the World Leather debut, so that'll be fun. But it's probably a saddle that'll never sell. It may, someday, but as much tooling time that's involved in this saddle, it's going to price out pretty high. And so this will be a piece that will more than likely sit in my shop, and it'll be a show piece. People can come in and check it out and kind of go over the saddle and see how many animals they can pick out that are on it, and it just be kind of a conversation piece. But it will be for sale, so if it does, that'd be great. But if it don't, that's fine too. And it's kind of hard when you're working in a shop and you've got customer saddles that you're building that you're getting paid for, but you've got one that takes up so much time and there's really no guarantee of any pay off of that thing. It's kind of a funny place to be in, but I'm really kind of immersed in the saddle right now and doing research on some of these animals so that I, get their history right, in my mind, as far as why they're getting a spot on the saddle, and kind of what's involved. It's pretty fun learning some of that too. There's some things I didn't know about some of the more common ones. But then also just working through the figure carving portion of those, it takes far more time to do each individual critter than it does the actual floral portion of the tooling window that they're in. And so that's what's eating up a lot of time. I think so far, without the skirts and without the seat and the housing and the swells, which are some of the biggest pieces on a saddle, I'm already at 40 hours in on just the tooling. That's not any kind of construction time. That's just tooling. I've got the construction time already figured out on my saddles, so I don't really track that, but I am tracking the tooling and design time, and that is both drawing and tooling. So, and a lot of people don't charge for drawing. We've talked about this in the past on the Monday morning briefings, but I think you have to, at some point, begin to charge for your design time, because that's time, and time is money, so you have to account for that somewhere. Somebody has to pay for that design time. So if you're pricing stuff out, just maybe kind of look at that and see if you're not charging for design time, maybe start tracking that and see how much time you're actually leaving on the table whenever you don't charge for that. It may be a little eye-opening. And I know, I get it. It's hard sometimes to charge the customer for every single minute that you worked on a project, but it's a goal that I think we all need to set for ourselves, is that, there is no dead time when we're working. You can't afford to continuously just leave tons of time on the table and money on the table. On a lengthy career, you've got to at some point at least charge something for that stuff. So that's interesting with this one. I've been tracking time more diligently on the last 2 or 3 saddles, and it's a little eye-opening. We've talked about it before, but it's a little eye-opening on how much time I thought I was spending on tooling and how much time I actually am spending on tooling. And so a lot of that is dependent on the pattern, what pattern you're tooling. If I'm doing a feather pattern and it's a lot of feathers on there, that's going to increase my tooling time dramatically, versus if I'm doing a simple floral pattern with very little directional changes other than normal flow and real elegant and clean. I can go through that pretty quickly, depending on the size. And there too, if you get your flowers under a certain size, that's more vine work, more flowers, more beveling, more time. The bigger the pattern, the faster it is sometimes. And so those are just kind of things that are neat to look at when you're tooling, whenever you're pricing stuff, is to just kind of be aware of those things. And so I suggest that's what I've been doing. I just got a little notepad and I just been I don't like using the term clocking in. I know there's a lot of people that do clock in, so to speak, and they, I got to clock in for this job or clock in for that job in their shops. I don't like putting it in those terms. It's probably just semantics, but to me, I like to log my time, but I also like to be fluid enough to where I can move around. I'm probably completely wrong on this. Everybody's got a reason and a position, but I think when it comes down to it, art is art. And so you can figure out your dollar amount per hour, clock in, track your time, do all that. But at the end of the day, if that piece demands less because of the quality, right? If it's just not your best work, maybe you can't charge the same as what you would like to, or maybe if it far surpasses your best work, then maybe it would demand more money because of the market. And by that I mean that maybe if you created a piece that was so stunning and astounding that it was just insanely good and a one-off piece, the market may demand far more money for that piece than what your hourly rate is and what you clocked in at. And so you got to have a starting point and you've got to have some type of baseline. So you've got to go from that. But you also have to realize that sometimes if you built something and you've got, say, $1,000 in time and material in there, but if somebody's willing to pay you $5,000 for it, then maybe it's worth $5,000. That's the way real estate works. A lot of those things work like that. If there's not many of them out there, the price of them increases. And that's independent of what the actual creator of that product feels like it's worth. It's really what the market feels like it's worth. So in the same sense, if you create something and your time and material tell you it needs to be $1,000, but the market won't pay more than $400 for it, then that's probably what it's worth, but I wouldn't build that item. So that's where I come in, where I'm always saying if I would rather not make money than lose money. So if you're building an item, and we hear this from a lot of people all the time, is that, well, I can't get that much for a belt for where I live. People just won't pay for it. Then don't build belts. You can't justify building something and getting less than you need to get for it on your baseline, time and materials, just to have the job. Like, build something they will pay for. If they won't buy a belt because it's too expensive, then that market there just isn't interested in belts enough to pay what they're worth. But you have to charge what they're worth, at least baseline. We got to remember Ford and Chevrolet and Dodge, they don't call your area where you live and ask what the people there are willing to pay for trucks. They just send trucks and they have a sticker on them, and that's the price, and people pay it. So it's not that they can't pay for it, it's that they won't pay for it. And maybe that's the item you don't need to waste time building. There's many items why I don't build anymore. Leggings for me is one of those. When I used to build a lot of chaps and leggings, people would, where we are, there's a lot of cowboys and stuff out west that build their own, and they trade those or sell them or whatever, and their trade value or their price is way lower than what I would have to build a pair. So there's no need for me to build them because nobody wants to pay that. They want to pay what they are from, their buddies and stuff. And so we just made a deal a long time ago, that this is what we charge. If you don't want them, we understand, but that's what we have to get for them. And then years later, we just ended up not doing them at all. And we were building a fair amount, but leggings are just something for me in my market that I've never made a lot of money on, and I'm not able to really get what they deserve. Value-wise, as far as how much time I put into them, how much materials in them, the time acquiring those materials, getting the right color, ordering the right feel of the leather, and all that kind of stuff. So that was just an item that we decided a long time ago, that's not for us. There's guys out there and folks out there that make leggings, and they have a heck of a business building leggings, and they've got it figured out, and their market pays them for it, and that's awesome. So I send everybody to those people just because that's something that we don't like to do. And so there's a lot of items like that we don't do because of that reason. So that's something you have to look at, but that's where it comes into, in my opinion, track your time just so you know what it is, and then you can make a better assessment on what you should be charging. I'm working on we have talked about pricing so much on the podcast that I'm interested in maybe finding somebody. We've had Bob Brenner on. We've talked about pricing there. I'm toying with the idea of possibly having somebody on that's not involved in the Western lifestyle at all, but is heavily involved in merchandising and pricing of goods and products. I don't know who that's going to be or what they're going to look like as far as like their business history and their education, but I want to find somebody that kind of knows the ins and outs of that. I'm going to take that with a grain of salt as well, but I think it'd be interesting on the podcast to have that conversation with somebody that's a professional in dollars and cents from a business standpoint, because I think all businesses are the same, but you're going to also have to look at it on market, because they may not be real familiar with the market. And at the end of the day, you've got to look at the market, because the market's what's going to be paying you for your work. So anyway, it's a little sidetrack, but I'm toying with that idea. I'm just trying to decide because I've talked to all kinds of business guys about pricing, and some of them have good information, some of them it doesn't work for our industry, and then or some of them say, well, you can't say that, it's all the same, but it's just some of it's different the way they price stuff. Because one reason is if you're coming at it from a manufacturing standpoint, you price things completely different because you're selling multiple units. You're selling lots of units, and so you're trying to get the smallest profit margin or the biggest profit margin while keeping it small, because you're planning on selling thousands of something, versus an oil painter or sculptor is spending hundreds of hours on one piece, and they may do 20 limited editions of that sculpture, and that's it. So they have to somehow figure out how to take all of that time, and materials kind of insignificant there, but they have to include that, taking all that time and then figuring out the price for each limited edition, because once that edition is sold out, it's sold out. And so the art world has a completely different pricing strategy than, say, Nike with their production, manufacturing plants. And so that's kind of the area where I'm talking about. Like you gotta kind of look at it per your field. And so that's kind of some of the stuff that we're toying with. Speaking of Lost Trade podcast, we had one out recently with Keith Seidel. And that was a really good episode, and really enjoyed that. We do have another one coming out maybe next week. We're interviewing some guys this week. We just, like I said, trying to get everybody on a schedule, and it's spring break now, and then it's turn of the year. Everybody's doing their taxes. Everybody's doing all that, but we're trying to get more consistent with the podcast. But it's one of those things. We do them when we can get people on, and when we get people interviewed, we'll get one out to you. But we do have quite a few episodes on there, so if you're not familiar, go to Spotify or Apple and check out a Lost Trade podcast, and you can listen to all our episodes there. That's really all I got for you today. We got a lot of stuff going on. We're in the middle of baseball season, so I'm the assistant coach on my little boys team. My wife is the head coach of my little girls softball team. And so that game start this week. We've got a game tonight, and so we'll be at the game this evening, and then I think we have one Friday. we're going to end up with 4 games a week, or well, 4 games between the 2 of them, so 2 of them apiece each week. But it's going to slow down hopefully a little bit, because we were having practice every night of the week for the last 2 or 3 weeks, but we're rounding that out. But next month we'll start showing calves again, and we'll start the new series and go from there. So things are getting busy, and we're getting ready to go to Sheridan. So we look forward to seeing all of you guys there. If you're going to be at Sheridan, Wyoming for the Rocky Mountain Leather Trade Show, we look forward to seeing you and getting a chance to meet you and hanging out. And it'll be a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't already, be sure to go to dgsaddlery.com and sign up for the Leathercraft newsletter. And keep an eye on our From the Cut Bench page for some oddball material packs that I'm probably going to post on there this week. I got a bunch of stuff I'm trying to get out of the cut room before that new shipment gets here. And we will be adding some inventory to our standard material packs as well. So I appreciate you guys. We'll see you all next week in the Monday morning briefing.